Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
So, welcome to this new session of the European Alliance Against Coronavirus. Just a comment, if you remain with us, you are aware that we are recording this session. We will share it in the channels of the European Cluster Alliance and the ECCP. And we are really grateful for your presence here today. We are going to speak with Ulla Engelman and Marek Fseur about the new or the key takeaways from the State of the Union address that was took place past week. And so we are really grateful also to Ulla for joining us and sharing with us. As we know that Ulla is going to need to leave us at 9, we will go directly to you. Thank you, Ulla.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm very pleased that we have this occasion to discuss the State of the Union speech of our president, which was given to the European Parliament last week. And in this speech, if you go to the next slide, she was really starting with what she said, the soul of the European Union, which also means she was referring to the values, to what makes the European Union different, to our history, the different cultures, the perspective, but also the strength of the community. So from this point of view, it was a start based on values. So, but also on the next slide, as we are now going into the second half of the mandate of the European Commission, she was also pointing out that it is time to implement and to deliver on the different proposals which have been done. But she started by also pointing out what has been achieved. And on achievements, of course, starting with the most obvious, the way out of the global health crisis. And she referred to the fact that the Commission has come up with a pharmaceutical strategy for Europe. Then she pointed to the scaling up of the vaccine production capacities in Europe, and this is something where you all also actively worked for. She pointed out the emergency support instrument, and now that we are working on the European strategy on COVID-19 therapeutics. Another very important issue put forward during the crisis was the way new funding and also, let's say, funding in unprecedented amount was made available in Next Generation EU. But this was then also combined with that member states had to draw up their national recovery and resilience plans, and then followed by this, they have been allocated the money, and they could kick off the work. And this is a process which is still ongoing, because there was an intensive exchange also between the Commission and the member states on these plans. Then another big issue is the transition, making Europe greener, more digital and more socially just. And she pointed to the European Green Deal package, Europe's digital decade, but also the EU Industrial Strategy update and the Pact for Skills. In the next slide, we will then see also what in the geopolitics. So there's this big support to COVAX, this global vaccine alliance, where the European Union is making available a huge number of vaccines. And there is the EU-US Trade and Technology Council. And then also that we are opening new chapters with our closest partner. And also this brings us to the different neighborhood policies. Particularly, there will be activities kicked off in the Western Balkans, and even now at the UNGA meetings in New York, there are already informal dinners ongoing with Western Balkan states. So this is something where a lot of attention and looking for cooperation, including Ukraine, will be looked at. And then another thing which got kicked off, which is about shaping the future of Europe together, is this conference on the future of Europe. And the conference of the future on the future of Europe, and I also would want to highlight what is behind this, because I'm not aware whether you had already come across this. So this is really where a tool, a platform has been made available, where citizens and others, organizations, for example, also you could do, organize events and inscribe them on this platform, which is AI driven and does translation to all member state languages. So you can add your events there, and then all of these events and the outcome of these events is being used, and this will be presented by the French presidency, what the ideas are for the future of Europe. And so this could be something, let's say, very interesting to take into account. And we are also in discussion with some of you to maybe, because it has to be organized not by the Commission, but by the citizens or by the organizations themselves. Okay, and then in the next slide, please. So then, of course, when she pointed out to the different activities, the first and the most urgent one is, of course, to speed up global vaccination, and also to get Sahara Authority up and running, which was then presented a day later by Commissioner Breton and the Health Commissioner. So I think there you are also following this very closely, and also with the involvement you had already. So I think you are also well placed to follow this closely from the beginning. And as this is an authority which will be set up within the Commission, but with a lot of links to member states, and there is looked in how the member states can be part of it. So this is really a big and very concrete opportunity, because there is a special budget also linked to HERA. So I encourage you to really look into this. Next slide, please. Then, of course, on the economy part, there is what I have mentioned before, also in the achievement that we made available, Next Generation EU. But now Next Generation EU will need to be used for the investment in short-term recovery, but also resilience. And for example, in infrastructure, particularly 5G, but also we need to invest in digital skills, and this is also something on the skills part where we had already discussions and are working together. Yeah, next slide, please. Then on the single market, this is also something very important, because we have seen the disruptions also in the single market, and that's why we have come up with a single market emergency task force, which is now being translated in the single market emergency instrument, and will of course work very closely with the member states to tackle barriers of the single market. And we know the statistics also and the proofs of the single market that this is a driver for good jobs and competitiveness, and therefore also with a digital dimension. But also on the single market, of course, particularly for us in DG Growth, this is something where we are responsible for and driving this. Then on the next slide, please. There is a very specific, when we talk about digitalization proposal, which was announced, the European Chips Act, where we really want to link what we do in research, design, testing capacities, so that we need to coordinate it and foster also national investment along this value chain, so that we create a state-of-the-art European chip ecosystem, including production. So this was announced as a very specific initiative. Next slide, please. And then, of course, there was also this time a bit shorter reference to the green transition, because in July the Commission has published the Fit for 55 package with a lot of different legislative proposals. So this slide gives you an overview with the whole list of legislative proposals. I'm now not going into this because I think you also had already a Fit for 55 package discussion or looked at it. So that's why in this State of the Union speech, it was, of course, greening and digital and green transition was an important issue, but it was, let's say, talked a bit less about because we just had publication of this big package. Next slide, please. Then another interesting project is this new European Powerhouse, and I think also there we probably had already some discussions, but it is really linking the Green Deal to also that it has to go further than an environmental and an economic initiative. So that's why it is also linked to have a cultural project, but also to have a greener and fairer lifestyle, and in a beautiful way. And that's why there is this new European Bauhaus movement, which got kicked off by the president the year before. And now it followed with a new European Bauhaus in communication. And why am I dwelling a bit on this new European Bauhaus communication? Because in this communication there is also the link to two new transition pathways. And you know, the transition pathways, as a follow-up of the industrial strategy update, are something which is supposed to help the greening and digital transition for the different ecosystems. And in the industrial strategy update, we point out that we start with 4 priority ecosystems, namely construction, tourism, mobility, and energy-intensive industries. But in this communication on the new Bauhaus, there is also proximity and social economy ecosystem and textile transition pathways, because it will be linked to an upcoming new textile strategy, and the proximity and social economy transition pathways will be linked to the upcoming social economy action plan. So that means we are working now on these 6 transition pathways. Okay, next slide, please. Then there was also an interesting other announcement. First of all, the president pointed out that we need to look more to the young generation, and she was also thanking the young generation because she felt that they have not always become the credit they need to, particularly if you look at the young generation, like starting to study and having had really difficult situations where they couldn't meet others, which should be part of their life. So she was saying that's why next year, 2022, will be the year of the European youth. And also from our side, we have started to think, what can we do in this year for the European youth? But there is also a very concrete initiative, which is called ALMA. And this is something which will become, let's say, similar what Erasmus is for students. ALMA is for young people who are not in education and not in employment, that they can find a temporary work experience in another member state, and by this being able to enhance their skills. Next slide, please. And then, because we really picked from the State of the Union speech different items and issues which we thought they could be of interest for you and linked to what clusters are doing. And of course, in the global gateway partnerships is something where we are looking at internationalization. And when we look at internationalization, particularly for SMEs and for industries, that global gateways could become an interesting vehicle for it. And it is very much about creating links and not dependencies. And therefore, there is a very concrete project to invest with Africa to create a market for green hydrogen. And it is really about connecting institutions, investment banks, and the business community. And I think there, on internationalization and matchmaking events, we can play a very concrete role and can support it concretely. Next slide, please. Yeah, so what, to sum up, it is really about now implementing. A lot of opportunities exist, a lot has been put in place, and now it's really to see how can these opportunities be used. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Ula. So now we will be with you just for some minutes, I understand, until 9. So take the opportunity, all of you, to comment with Ula. Who's the first?
Yes, Antonio, can I say something on what Ula said?
Go on,
So I think, Ula, thank you very much and congratulations for your exposition. I think that there are 3 topics that are very important in the strategy that the European Union has for the future that I can summarize in 3 words. The first is, I think it's important that the European Union and the European institutions and all the companies and the citizens have a new sense of purpose. And I'd like to, that you could comment on that. Do you think that in fact we have now a new sense of purpose for the new European agenda? The second topic is about the trust. I think it will be more and more a new context of trust between the institutions, the countries, the citizens, the firms, and the clusters can be, of course, very important organizations for that. And finally, the context of value, because I think that value and the new context of value will be very important so that the countries and the institutions and the firms understand what they can do. It was my contribution. Thank you.
So thanks. Yeah, very important points. And of course, I did now not repeat the speech of the president because she spoke for 60 minutes. And like she also pointed out to the importance for the rule of law and what measures the Commission is taking in this perspective. So I think what you said on the values and the purpose, this is very much yes, what is on the agenda. And also I think when I highlighted the fact on the conference of the future of Europe, which is not a conference per se but a process, I think this is something which I also hope will come out via these discussions. But of course, I cannot project what the citizens' input will be. But I think it leads towards this, and also different concrete initiatives like the Action Plan for Social Economy are going in this direction, and also sustainability discussions. So I think, yes, there is a clear way on this, but we also need to see how it is perceived and gets a feedback from the citizen. So it's very much about connecting and getting feedback. But also, and this is also something I did not focus on now, is on strategic autonomy. So discussion on strategic autonomy were also quite present in this discussion, and so because you mentioned also trust, and I think it's also trust, but also in a global context, positioning ourselves and looking also what are the interests of Europe, and not becoming too accommodating and getting driven by the agenda of others. So I think there is both sides, and it depends whether it's trust between us or trust in a geopolitical context.
Thank you, Ula. Thank you, Jaime. Another speaker, another comment, question? Alberto.
Well, yes, I don't know if you are, probably you are not seeing me. Are you seeing me?
No, but we are hearing you.
Yes, I don't know what happened with the camera, but anyway, thank you, Ola, for your intervention. It's indeed very inspiring and very nice. Just a few comments. I think that I like very much the also the initiative on Bauhaus. I think this is a way from Europe to be to find this using what is a great asset for Europe, all Europe, that is the culture and the way of life, greener and probably more inclusive. I know that later today you will intervene in a day we organize here in Catalonia together with our colleagues Joan on share value. That I think it's another important concept that probably quite untapped until now, and in which Europe could take the lead and promoting a more fair and sustainable growth that is not only talking about greener, but also more inclusive. So I think this is something that it's one of the recommendations also of the expert group. So I hope that this could be further. And also I think that in your footprint in your management of the unit that is, I think, more participative also for the people that we are collaborating together with ECA. I think it's a new way of doing things in a proper way for me. So congratulations, thanks, and I hope that we will have further occasion to work in the coming years. Sorry for the image. I don't know what happens.
Thanks a lot, Alberto. Very much appreciated. And yes, I fully agree on the importance of shared value, and also the fact that to highlight when we talk about sustainability, that sustainability is not only green, but also social. And I think particularly when we have now also discussions on this Fit for 55 package, the social dimension is becoming so important because as it will affect all of us, and we need to see for this transition to have then a socially fair transition is very important. And I think also when we talk about transition pathways, we will need to find a way to include this and to make the point on this socially fair, because it will not be obvious, and we need to highlight the potential, and their shared value is an important concept which we should promote. And I'm looking forward to speak later on in the other event also.
Me too, I will be there.
So, Ula, thank you. It's the last minute. I before you leave us, I want to state that clusters, the cluster community wants to contribute to that future, and we are grateful because we see new opportunities in the way that the European Commission is creating the working groups, and how can we contribute, can we participate? Okay, so I just wanted to say we will continue on it, and thank you for counting with us. Okay.
No, thanks. We are counting on you, and we are also looking forward to get this kind of input, impulses, but also just to reiterate what I said, have a think also on this conference of the future of the Europe. If there are some events which you could also take the lead, or some of you who are now in the call, as you come from different countries, so maybe within your communities you might want to think, because that then, especially also Alberto, but I will probably also say it later on in the other thing, the shared value discussion would be something very important to have it in the future of Europe also. So we try to point out what opportunities exist for you, but you need to go and grab them then also. But I think in the past we have managed now to establish a quite good synergy, and things seems moving slowly in the right direction. So sorry I have to run, but I have several meetings today, and but I was very pleased that I could join the morning together with you, start my day with you. It's always a highlight for me. Thanks a lot, and I'm looking forward to the next occasion. See you. Bye.
Have a very nice day. Ula.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we continue with Marek, I think. Are you there, Marek?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
So thank you again for joining us another day, and let's continue discussing about this. Nina, would you describe what we have been doing with about the conference for the future of Europe?
Yes, we had in the past month from our cluster IDEA, our regional cluster here in Spain, done different activities. So inviting to a webinar series, a bit similar to this one, so an open discussion about different topics relevant for the future. So we were also talking about digitization, about green transition. We were talking about also the gender aspects, so women in clusters and in industry. And we were talking about one of the latest ones was also the Pact for Skills. And here we were also having speakers from the regional, from our regional and national employment services, also getting input from a national perspective on these matters that we have been talking here in this group on European level, and then bringing it down to national and regional. So I think when planning activities also for the conference on the future of Europe with different events, we have a lot of input here that we have been discussing and that we can bring on the table and further develop. And we will now at the end of this month have an event, a physical event here in Zaragoza, where we are based, to focus more on the youth aspect in this last event. So taking a bit different pathways, different topics, and continuing the discussion on these.
Yes, and we are doing this in collaboration with the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs and European Union, and our compromise is to deliver by the end of this month a document that should be or will be integrated in the Spanish contribution to the conference. So the idea was to also involve our cluster in this societal reflection on where are we going. So that is our experience with that. But anyway, again, Marek, Ula commented that you are thinking on possible new actions from the cluster community in this. Do you know more about it? Could you share with us? Too soon, perhaps?
Antonio, you mean to this conference or what? Because conference is very bottom up.
Yes.
No, let's be clear. But conference is bottom up, and the initiatives are coming from the cluster community. So I can only refer to one which was initiated by Cluj, yeah, by Bianca Montan, and they are organizing the conference. There will be participation of our commissioner, because this is the broader context. But I want to emphasize, everything comes from the society's communities. We don't arrange anything. It came from Bianca. The initiative was done by Bianca. She managed to get it. She managed to get it in order even to have the president of the, I mean our commissioner, Breton. So the message I want to pass is everything is possible if you act. I mean, it's not waiting for the Commission to do. It's we are setting the framework, we are setting the platforms, we are setting the possibilities, financing, funding, but everything is in hands of the citizens. I think this is the biggest value of the European Union. That, talking about values, that it comes from the citizens rather than from an omniscient planner from the European Commission.
Okay. Do you have any? I don't know if somebody has information about the Bianca's event, or a link, something like that. If so, it will be good to see it. But anyway,
I think she will be informing about this. I'm sure it's under preparation.
okay. More comments. I see that we have with us Ilaria Masari. Buongiorno, Ilaria.
Buongiorno, Antonio. Good morning to everyone.
Could you share your views?
Well, I would like to thank all of you and of course Ula and Marek for these chances to share and to talk together with you all. There are so many things and we have really a lot of projects ongoing. So this is really interesting because we see a lot of challenges and opportunities to collaborate at multinational level, and this is a great chance to also for us as territory to grow and to enhance our local development. I do not have right now something specific to add, but thank you again.
Thanks to you, Ilaria. Yeah, the question is that we are speaking about very high level points, okay? Yeah. But I will say that I am happy to see that we as cluster community are involved in many of them. And that is the best news that we could share internally. I mean, we are working on the HERA, on the improvement of our capabilities for fighting against COVID. We are for sure involved in the construction or in the definition of the new pathways. For sure, also on the industrial aspects, and as it was highlighted, we have several very interesting challenges ahead. One of them would be how to contribute to the reinforcement of the sovereignty and the independence of the European Union. I think it's a very interesting point to think about. I don't know if clusters are involved in this new chip strategy at the European level, but we have been discussing about it a lot here in the morning sessions, and I think that it will make sense to involve several of us on that strategy. Do you know something about that, Marek?
No, but if I may, because it's about this State of the Union of our Commissioner, I would be interested in what particularly struck you as people dealing with clusters. Also, I can go shortly for the main points I think are very relevant for clusters, but I would like really to hear from you. I think value is fine, but the things like that you would find yourself and your clusters to be engaged in out of this the State of the Union speech, and then Antonio, later I can give you some info on the HERA package, which was adopted last week, and I think this is extremely important, particularly for our health clusters and the work we are doing on COVID-19. So I can briefly tell you something about this. But before, we have all colleagues here. We've been working. Just one thing. If every one of you can say one thing that really attracted your attention, that you would think that this is okay. This is for clusters. If we can activate the colleagues, please.
So, who is the first? For sure, for us, idea is artificial intelligence. We are working a lot on it. Alberto? No, you have problems with the sound, Alberto. Perhaps, no, we are not hearing you. I hear a very strange noise. Could you perhaps now it's perfect.
Okay. And you also see me? Well, again, I take advantage. We are here, so if nobody else speak. Just yesterday, I was asked by an international colleague from DCI. I not mention his name because to review. To do a peer review of a chapter that of a book. It will be edited in the States in the coming months, and it was about the power of cluster and the reaction of cluster regarding the COVID crisis. And while I was reading this chapter, it refers to some examples of Catalan cluster and European clusters, and most of them involved in ECA, and the prompt reaction that they had towards the crisis of the COVID-19. And he was comparing this to the fact that this does not happen in other parts of the world, and particularly in the States. And making some reflection with him, is a very well-reputed expert. My vision was that probably it was because cluster here in Europe are a bit reflecting what is the spirit of our culture, of our society. That is a society that probably is much more with a culture of cooperation, respect to other parts of the world. There are probably clusters that are smaller and more flexible, and this is that in some cases is a weak point for some parts. Maybe in the case of a prompt reactor, maybe an advantage, and so this is flexibility. Also the diversity. I think there is no other part of the world in which there are so great heterogeneity in terms of and industry specialization of this kind of thing. So I think for me these are the points, our distinctive points, in which we have to target the future action also, and the guidance from the EU. And sometimes in the past I heard about trying to imitate other big example like, for me, the supercluster in Canada or other things. I think my personal opinion is that we have to focus on our strengths, and also in enhancing the participation and dialogue, because there is a lot of people in cluster organization and companies that are part of clusters that have a lot of good ideas. So for me, every initiative that is aimed to share knowledge, and here I cannot mention not mention Jaime, or initiatives that are valorizing the distinctive core values of European society and industry, I think this is are the right ones. For me, one initiative that I was listening to yesterday in the meeting of the expert group that I think it's very, very good is this of the transition pathways. There is a lot of potential in analyzing what are the current obstacles that impede more competitiveness in some sector, and these are specific of any sector. So any initiative that implies analysis, strategic analysis of try to identify and overcome this obstacle will be also good. Well, we can continue the talk. I don't want to monopolize it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Alberto. More comments? Who wants to contribute? I see that we have with us Gabriela Birbu from Romania. Gabriela, how do you see it?
Yes.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Good
morning, everyone. Good morning, Antonio and Alberto and everyone. Well, in Romania, speaking about clusters, we I don't know. We are now in a lack of communication with the Ministry of Economy, which is responsible for cluster policy in Romania. Well, this is because of political situation. We have many internal elections in parties, and we hope that situation will be finished soon. We are waiting for the approval of European Commission regarding the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. This will happen on 27th of September, if I'm not wrong, and we hope to start a more active communication with the Ministry of Economy in order to put in place what Clustero intends to do for the clusters. In this week, we are organizing a conference within Green Week, European Green Week. It will happen in the center of Romania. Some of our members are already there, and they are discussing about bioeconomy and including the clusters of Romania, which are active in bioeconomy in European value chains. Well, this is for the moment for us. We are waiting for a better perspective from the political point of view. And for the moment, this is all for us. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you, Gabriela. Okay, so I see that we have with us somebody from the Paul Valorial. Would you share with us your views? I don't know if he or she is hearing me.
Hello, Antonio. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello,
Yeah. Hi.
Veronica.
It's Veronica from the ECCP. I'd also like to mention what Ula said about the COVID-19 therapeutic strategy. I think the ECCP has also contributed to that with the first matchmaking event that we held in July. And I would also like to announce there will be a second one likely in November where we can hopefully drive this forward. I think this is one of the few contributions that the ECCP can make to the implementation of the goals set out in the State of the Union speech, apart from also digitalization and greening the industry with, for instance, our towards green transition support facility. I hope we can make our contribution there.
I'm sure, Veronica, thank you. And congratulations for the work done by the ECCP. I was close to it, and I saw the quick reaction that you were able to organize and how you align it with what was needed to do. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Antonio and all. If you allow me, I'd like to...
For sure. Bon dia.
Bon dia. Egonon. I'd like to call for a different point of view. Since we've started to meet, we've been helping or trying to help to build this autonomy of Europe, this resilience to get Europe stronger. And this is really fundamental. But in the other side, the entire world has to cooperate because these crises are global. These and future crises are global. Most of the things now are impossible to not be global. And companies, us at companies, also need to deal with the entire world. And this balance in terms of the policies and politics is very difficult to make. And I think clusters are the closer entities to companies and may help the real politics to deal with this balance, this difficult balance between being autonomous and being with others. So this is not the official side, of course, but it exists. We have to live with it, and this has to be on the agenda too.
I totally agree, Aurora, and I am glad to hear that from you, that are quite new to our work. More than 1 year now, but yes, it's very good. Okay. I will offer the possibility to contribute to Maureen. From the Cluster Center, I think. Morning, Maureen. I see your mic is activated, but we are not hearing you. No? We are not receiving any sound from you. Okay, so technical problem, sorry. Raluca. Okay, so Marek, perhaps it's a good moment to speak about HERA.
Yes, maybe can you give me rights to share the screen just very quickly, sure. So that it complements the presentation. By Ula mentioned there is HERA. So if you look on the main highlights from the can you see?
Yes, not in full screen mode yet.
Yeah.
Now it's perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
So one of this. So we have what we have. We have 5G. We have artificial intelligence mentioned. We have digital skills. We have innovation mentioned. We have a global gateway mentioned. We have the Fit for 55 mentioned. European Chips Act, and all of these elements you can refer very easily to clusters, and as well what we are doing in the cluster expert group policy toolkit. So it all very fits together. One extremely important for us is still COVID-19 and HERA. And I think that this is all work we were doing in order to have the kind of instrument which will react quickly to this kind of pandemia or anything. So you know, there was the whole process of getting into the creation of HERA from the State of the Union speech last year through European Health Union package, HERA incubator, communication on lessons learned, and I put in the chat the link to the package which was published last week. So basically we are establishing HERA, and main thing of HERA, and I think this is the main slide. There are two kinds of activities for HERA. HERA in normal times, no crisis, and HERA in crisis times. So this HERA at this moment will be the Director General in the European Commission, so it will be part of the European Commission, integrated in the structure. We have during the normal time, there will be so-called preparedness phase, and we will work on intelligence gathering, threat assessments, be it medical, be it industrial, working on advanced research and development for medical countermeasures understood as well as not only medicines, not only therapeutics, but as well the protective equipment, anything which serves to our protection. Boosting industrial capacity, extremely important for clusters, procuring and distributing medical countermeasures, increasing stockpiling capacity, and strengthening knowledge and skills. This is the scope of the activities during normal times. In case of health emergency situation, outbreak, this will be the emergency phase. It will be particularly to work together on the things to ensure the availability of supply and deployment of medical countermeasures. So the thing that we were struggling last year in March and April, but it was very ad hoc. Now it will be structured, so we are not surprised anymore. Before, we must admit, we didn't have this kind of instrument. And European Commission acting as a central purchasing body, we saw it through purchasing of vaccines. It did work. Monitoring medical countermeasures, what are the possibilities, new ways, channels, everything what we are discussing in resilience, and finding alternatives in case we have problems, shortages, and so on. Activating emergency measures for research and as well and funding. This is, for example, how we the first funding went to COVID-19 therapeutics in the Horizon Europe. So basically, this is the activities of the new HERA, and what is important. This will be set up operationally on the 1st of October and fully operational in 2022. But of course, what is important, this element of joint industrial cooperation forum, which will be composed of industry representatives, so that there is a direct channel to work with the European Commission, and encouragement of new industrial partnerships, which will help to accelerate uptake of productions of specific medical countermeasures. And this EU FAB will make a network of ever-warm production capacities for vaccine and medicine manufacturing. So the member states will have a particular role because they will be involved through HERA board during normal time and HERA's crisis board during emergency. The emergency will be decided by the Council when we need to activate it. So in short, in brief, this is exactly what is proposed in the HERA package. You have the link, and I think this is a certain breakthrough in order for us to be ready in the cases of any crisis, pandemia of this kind. So and of course, clusters are on board, and we are working closely all the time on this. So thank you for this, but I wanted to stress that this is something which is going on, and what was presented in State of the Union in a year time is reality. So I think this is very valid for what Ula was presenting, that things are being implemented when they are announced. Thank you for this.
No, thanks to you, and congratulations for the role that you are playing on it. I need to say to everyone that I think that Marek and
Eva,
team,
yes,
and Eva is working hardly on contributing highly to this new tool, as I will say the cluster person on it. So really congratulations from the most human side. Okay, I will say. Okay, you are doing a very good job. Okay, I think it's time to close. Thank you again to all of you for being here. Thank you, Marek, for your explanation and your contribution, and looking forward for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a very good night.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.